My name is Grace Ashcroft. I work as an FBI analyst. Most of my life is spent behind a computer screen, reading reports, analyzing data, studying the worst things people do to each other. I'm not a field agent. I'm not a soldier. I'm just the person who studies the evidence after everything has already gone wrong. But one case forced me to step into the nightmare myself, because it brought me back to the place where my life was destroyed, a place called Wrenwood Hotel. 8 years ago, I was just a kid. My mother, Grace Ashcroft, was an investigative journalist. She believed the world deserved to know the truth about the Umbrella Corporation. Most people were too scared to talk about Umbrella, but my mom wasn't. She used to say something I never forgot. If the truth is terrifying, that usually means someone is trying very hard to hide it. Back then, I didn't understand what she meant, but I learned the hard way. The night everything happened, we were staying at Wrenwood Hotel. My mom was working on a story. She had been meeting people who claimed Umbrella had continued secret research even after the Raccoon City disaster. She thought she was close to proving it. That night, the hotel was quiet, too quiet. Then the phone in our room rang. My mom answered it. She listened for a moment, but nobody spoke. Just silence. Then the lights went out. The entire floor went dark. My mom grabbed my hand and told me we were leaving. We stepped into the hallway. Emergency lights flickered red across the walls. That's when we saw him, a man standing at the end of the corridor, tall, still, his face hidden under a hood. Before we could react, the hotel manager ran into the hallway. The man in the hood moved fast, too fast. One quick motion, and the manager collapsed to the floor, blood spreading across the carpet. My mom pulled me with her and we ran. I could hear footsteps behind us. Heavy, calm, not rushing. Like he already knew we couldn't escape. We reached the stairwell, but before we could open the door, he caught up. My mom pushed me back. She told me to run. I didn't want to leave her, but she shouted my name, and then there was a flash of steel. A sound I will never forget. When I looked back, my mother was lying on the floor. A fire broke out shortly after. Half the hotel burned down. When the police arrived, the killer was gone. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no answers. The case was closed. Just another tragedy buried under the ruins of Raccoon City. But I never forgot. 8 years later, I joined the FBI, not as an agent, as an analyst. I told myself I was chasing justice. But the truth? I was chasing answers. One morning, a case file landed on my desk. A body had been discovered inside an abandoned building. Cause of death, unknown, but the symptoms were strange. Severe tissue decay, cell mutation, signs that looked disturbingly similar to viral infection. Then I noticed something else. The victim had been a survivor of Raccoon City, and he wasn't the only one. Several survivors had recently died under similar circumstances. The phenomenon had a name now, Raccoon City Syndrome. The investigation led to a familiar location, the Wrenwood Hotel, the same place where my mother died. The Bureau sent me to review the case in person. Ironically, the analyst had to go into the field, back to the place I had spent years trying to forget. When I arrived, the hotel looked like a ghost. Broken windows, collapsed walls, dust everywhere. Nature had started reclaiming the building, but something about it still felt wrong. Like the building itself remembered what had happened. I walked through the lobby. Every step echoed through the empty halls. The air smelled like mold and something metallic, something familiar. Blood. Eventually, I reached the hallway where my mother died. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it. The door to our old room was still there, barely hanging on its hinges. I stepped inside. Everything was covered in dust, but then I remembered something. The last thing my mother did before we left the room that night. She hid something behind a painting on the wall. I pulled the painting down. Behind it, there was a small compartment. Inside was my mother's journal and a data disk. Evidence she had hidden before we tried to escape. Proof she had found something big, something dangerous. But before I could read it, I heard footsteps behind me. Someone was standing in the hallway. A police officer, Officer Cole. At least that's what his badge said. But something about him was wrong. His hands were shaking. His skin looked pale, almost gray. Then he looked up. His eyes were empty, like something inside him had already died. His body twitched, and the skin on his neck began to move, as if something was crawling underneath it. That's when I realized the truth. The virus was still alive. He started walking toward me, slowly, dragging his feet, his bones cracking with every step, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was tied to a surgical table, bright lights above me, cold metal against my wrists, a laboratory hidden beneath the hotel. Standing next to me was a man in a lab coat, smiling. His name was Victor Gideon, a former Umbrella researcher. He told me the truth my mother had died for. Umbrella's research had never truly ended. It had simply gone underground. Their newest project was called Elpis, a virus designed not just to infect humans, but to evolve them, to push human biology beyond its natural limits. And Gideon believed I was important to the experiment because of my mother, because of what she had discovered. But before he could continue, alarms started screaming throughout the facility. Red lights filled the room. Containment pods began opening, one after another. Something inside the lab had broken free. Creatures began moving through the corridors, mutated, twisted, things that used to be human. I managed to escape my restraints and run, but the halls were full of monsters, and one of them was hunting me. They called it the Girl, a creature that moved across ceilings and walls. Her limbs were long and thin, her eyes glowing in the dark. She didn't walk, she crawled. And the worst part? She couldn't be killed with normal weapons. The only way to survive was to hide under tables, inside lockers, holding my breath while she passed by just inches away, listening to her claws scrape across the walls, waiting for the moment she might find me. As I explored the lab, the truth became clear. The virus had never disappeared. After Raccoon City, it had stayed dormant inside survivors, and now it was evolving again. Eventually, the situation escalated beyond the FBI. Someone who had survived the original Raccoon City incident. A man who knew exactly what this kind of nightmare looked like. Leon S. Kennedy. As long as Girl wasn't looking at me, I quickly moved to the locker. For a moment, I thought she had gone. Then I heard it, claws scraping against concrete. Slow, patient, getting closer. She stopped directly above the locker. For a second, she knew I was there. The locker door ripped open. Her hand shot toward my throat. And then a gunshot exploded through the hallway. The creature jerked backward, screeching. Another shot. Precise, controlled. The girl retreated into the shadows of the ceiling. "Grace Ashcroft?" he asked. His voice was steady, like this was just another day on the job. I nodded, still shaking. He lowered the gun slightly. "Leon Kennedy," he said. "FBI called for backup." As we moved deeper into the lab, we found him, Victor Gideon. Gideon smiled when he saw Leon. So they sent the famous survivor of Raccoon City. Then he injected himself with some kind of solution and turned into a monster. A few shots, and Victor Gideon was destroyed. When Leon reviewed the files, his expression changed. He looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "This is the end." This investigation wasn't just about my mother anymore. It was about stopping the next global catastrophe. My name is Grace Ashcroft. I'm still an FBI analyst. But now I know something most people don't. The nightmare that started in Raccoon City isn't over.